I hope each and every one of you is having a great week. No Valentine's card for me though, Eddie, but I did get a Snickers, which I think is much more useful than a card. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this week's show.
Episode 10 this week. No guests this week, just Gary and I, the dream team. But we're going to deep dive into some kit, my spine kit, Gary's Lakeland kit, and just general kit chitter-chatter this week. Trish and Russell pay us a visit, Tales from the Trails, and we are going to share our active route competition too. Here we go. Enjoy the show. I saw a picture on Instagram of a toilet. It was quite a clean toilet, though. I did zoom in to check that you'd been scrubbing with that loo brush.
Oh, goodness me. So I was all there. I was kit ready and everything ready to do cross-country. And I was trying to fix the toilet because I had a dodgy flush. I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
Oh, no.
Any plumbing job probably takes about 10 times.
Are you a plumber by background trade, Gary?
I'm quite handy, I suppose. Well, I thought it was until I broke the toilet even more. And I in a nutshell, I had to bend something and I bent it too much and I snapped it, which resulted in unstoppable water coming out of a toilet.
Clean water rather than backflush.
Yeah, and I was like the guy. I'm sure there's a story in Amsterdam with a little guy with his finger in the dam, and that was me. And Lisa had been for a run, Esme needed a shower, so people need to use stuff, and I couldn't isolate the water, so I had to just turn the whole house's water off and dash up to Tool Station, I think it was, and buy all the bits and bobs and fix the toilet, which is super annoying because I'm supposed to do cross country, obviously, which I didn't do. But what annoyed me even more is I'd modified my week. I didn't do my gym.
Oh my
Friday.
God, it messed with your training. Did your family pay for this crisis?
I was okay with it. In the scheme of things, I was okay with it. But yeah, I didn't do the gym on Friday because I thought I need to keep my legs for Saturday's cross country, especially with the big day on Sunday planned with the lakes. And then I didn't obviously do cross country. But what was even more annoying, I'd fixed the toilet before the race had started, but I just couldn't get to the venue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, these things. Life happens, as we always say.
But we have a working toilet. So that
Oh, yeah, I'm impressed with your plumbing. I would not know. I struggled this morning because I couldn't get the gas to light to boil eggs.
Yeah, it's dodgy.
I could smell the gas, but it wouldn't light. I was like, this is not something I fiddle with. So, of course, I interrupted Bryn's very early morning work call that he'd gone into work early to go, I can't get the gas to work.
I'd be really scared if I was a gas engineer, just leaving people's houses.
Thinking, did I turn it on?
It would really freak me out. It would really freak me out.
Well, don't worry. I don't think you're going to be in that situation. Don't worry about that.
What else did I do? I went, we did all county tops recce. Slightly modified from a plan. We didn't make it to Coniston because it just took us a hell of a lot longer than I thought it would, in a nutshell. But we did, the way we come off Scarfell Pike for people who have done the race before, maybe thinking about it, you could just retrace your steps back down the path and what the kind of regular trail would do. That adds a lot of time onto the course. Unless you take the wrong line off Scarfell Pike, then that will take a hell of a lot of time, add extra time to your course. But we nailed it. We did it a few times. We went up and down. We went down. We thought that's the line. And we retraced our steps so we could visualize it in the right direction come race day.
Jeez, you're really going for that mug, aren't you?
Yeah. And it was good. I came every time I've done, this will be my third time I've ran all county tops. And the first two times, it's actually a bit of a mystery how I got off Scarfell Pike. But I think now, I know how to do it. And yeah, maybe a couple more recce's. I tried out some Saucony programs. We mentioned them the other week with Robin. Yeah, what a good shoe. I've never ran in any Saucony shoes at all, but they did great. They're just enough grip, enough cushioning, and I think I had a sports shoes or something, or a runner's knee code, so I bought them. I did pay for myself. It's not a shameless way of shoehorning a brand into our content, but what is a bit of a shameless way of shoehorning brands into our content is we've been so lucky. We've been sent some bits and bobs from various companies, Protein Rebel, Veloforte, and I was using their. They've got these energy bars, Veloforte. So I've been using those, and then also I had the Capo protein shake at the end of the run, and that went down really well. And that again, the Capo one is a vegan protein shake, so I was pleased with that. And I tried. We mentioned the Protein Rebel maple gels. Well, if you like maple syrup, you're going to love these. No gut issues. And I'm trying collagen. Have you ever tried this?
No, you've asked me this. Have we asked it? I'm not sure if you asked me this on the podcast. Because of my beautiful skin, you were like, oh, it's so plump. And I'm like, no, I'm just piling on the pounds at the moment. No, I haven't. I did look into it, but the research shows is mixed. Yes. So I've not.
I think the theory is good. We don't produce, I think, after 20-year-old. So I like the theory behind it.
What are you hoping for? That it's gonna.
I just don't ache as much when I.
Okay. Have you found that is?
It's too early to say. I've been on it for about 5 days, and I.
Oh, okay. Yeah, way too early. You need to
Yeah, I think they said about 40 days, 42 days. Yeah. But what was good? What initially, I've got to admit, it kind of grossed me out a bit pouring this collagen into drinks to take it. It wasn't something I was looking forward to. But yeah, I've tried it in tea, coffee, and sometimes I like a hot water, honey and lemon. And it went in there, dissolved fine, and it didn't destroy the cuppa, which was fine. So from that point of view, yes, I can take it.
Yeah, and if anyone's tried it and has had successful results, fire over on Facebook or slip into our DMs.
Why?
I had a couple of messages from people saying, slipping into your DMs, Eddie. I was like, I love it. Slipping right back over to you.
But I thought I just discovered something new because I've heard of collagen before, but maybe more in the beauty industry. And then I mentioned to people and they were like, oh yeah, collagen this, collagen that. I'm like, all right, okay.
Oh, you thought you were going to be groundbreaking. How did Gary win Canty Tops outright? Oh, it's all down to my collagen.
It would be interesting. And I think because the research is maybe not conclusive, it might be like a one-on-one journey. It might work for somebody. It might not work.
For sure, like all these things, but it'll be interesting to hear how you get on. Defo.
Yeah. I've entered another race, Teenager with Altitude, and this one.
I thought you were just talking. You just slipped that in because one of your kids had come in.
yeah, 15 miles, 7,500 feet.
Whoa! Where is this?
It's
dreamy race.
Lake District, and we're all going to go over there and do it. So Aaron, my friend, he's mentioned it loads of times. He's done it a few times, and I think he said he was like second off last. It's super tough. It's a super
tough. Your quads are going to be. Hey, your quads will be great after busting them in the gym.
But yeah, hopefully. But this is my strategy, So I'm visualizing Dragon's Back race as being...
You're visualizing your thighs.
Yeah.
All those media photos, and you just...
Yeah.
I see
it. But the Dragon's Back race, every day is in effect a different race. I think Russell said the last day is very runnable. And then obviously day one is not really runnable. So that's my plan, entering a mixture of training races from the Lakeland 100 to this to all county tops. Hits lots of different systems within me. So on the race week, nothing should freak me out too much from a training point of view. A bunch of us, it was good actually. Did 5 times 4 minutes with a minute recovery in that heart rate zone 4. I enjoyed that. I did a 15-minute threshold run, eased me back into that, and we smashed at last. Did over 10,000 feet of elevation.
You're back on it. You're back on it.
So although I missed cross country and I reflected on that, I think I did an Instagram story. I think because of hard session on Thursday, and then potentially cross country Saturday, and then 6 hours we were out on Sunday, I think it's probably a good thing I didn't do cross country.
I think so too. Keep those matches.
Very good. Dry. I think that was last week. I said 7 out of 10. I think it could be an 8 out of 10 for this week. Yeah, I enjoyed it. How about you?
Should I give my 2 out of 10 for my week? Possibly stretching up to a 3. So for those who perhaps jumping into the podcast, it is now week 4. 4 weeks, not quite 4 weeks. To this time, 3 and a bit weeks ago, I was on the Pennine Way. So almost 4 weeks. I remember talking about recovery to you. What does recovery look like to us? Maybe it was just after the spine or just before. And you said, week 5, I might start, putting some strides. And I remember thinking, week 5? Week 5, I'm going to be like... Oh my God.
Yes,
Oh my God.
yes.
So let's go back to the beginning of week, because I've had some progress since the beginning of the week. Anyway, I had to I've jumped back onto Swift. I've done a couple of work. It's just so horrible. Everyone will relate to this when you're so unfit and you have to restart again.
You're not racing
When
on Swift, are you? Not yet.
Oh hell no! I can't hardly push the pedals.
Right.
So I've started taking my daily heart rate, and measuring my heart rate variability just to
Ooh, I love
see.
it.
I'm using this special app, which I'm going to talk about more. But I always like to try stuff out before I then inflict it on my clients. And so I'm trying this app out and measuring my heart rate variability, and my resting heart rate is still 10 beats higher than normal. And that cannot be fitness. Like, I can't have lost that much. It is still, I am still in a zone which isn't great.
Yeah.
And so I thought, have I lost so much fitness? So I went on Swift and started doing I initially started with doing one of their workouts. And then I was like, this doesn't match where I am at all. I'm going to write my own workout, because I know exactly what's otherwise the ego takes over. So then I wrote my own workout, which was much better. But my heart rate is standard for the watts that I push is 10 beats higher when I'm working out as well. So that I was like, so that my body is still in a state of shock, stress. So I just have to be really, really mindful of that. I've done a couple of runs. I ran for almost 7 miles, and that was okay. By the end I was starting to feel quite stiff. There is still a lot of stiffness, my tendons in my feet. I did run a couple more times, but my knee is really, really stiff coming downhill. The IT band, everything, and it's like double the size of the other knee.
Oh my
It doesn't hurt to run like on the flat. It doesn't hurt. And then as soon as I stop running, it doesn't hurt. But it's really tight. My left-hand side of me is really tight. So I went to the chiropractor, my Australian chiropractor. I think I've mentioned him before. He is like a sheep farmer, and he literally manhandles me. And he's like, relax, Eddie, relax, Eddie. And then he puts his whole body weight through me. And I'm like, it's brutal. He's brutal. People go
crunch.
Oh my God, the crunching. Anyway, I saw him just before the race. He obviously knows Eddie very well. He's saved me a few times. When I came back from Cape Wrath and I actually couldn't walk, he was the one who lifted me out of the car and managed to make it so I could walk a bit. So he's really, really brutal, but he's also really, really kind. But he's only really kind to me when I'm really broken. The rest of the time, he's just like, you do this to yourself, I'm going to crack you, and off you go. And yesterday, he was really, really kind to me. And I was like, why are you being so nice? Anyway, there's quite a lot more damage to my body. And I think everybody who's done this kind of mega length race, after the first few weeks when the swelling goes down and the inflammation and the energy starts coming back, and you kind of think, okay, I should be I'm good to go. But he's like, there's a lot of damage. Your body is...
How does he know? Is he
He's got this... I think chiropractors so used to feeling tissues and muscles. Anyway, my arms, which I thought, okay, they're feeling much better, even though my fingers and stuff still feel quite weird. Yeah. He was like, put your hand, he put his hand flat onto the back of my hand, and then he's like, push against my hand. And I can't push. There's nothing on either hand. And he's like, okay, Eddie, it's quite worrying. There's not he's like, okay, you need to. So I have a massage therapist who I work with as well. And he's like, she needs to strip out your whole arm. You can literally you can see I think he said, I don't know the arm muscles as well as I know the leg muscles, the digitus extensor. It's massive down my arm, both arms. One elbow wouldn't even bend. I was like, but that's okay, because what do I need the grip for and pushing ability? And he's like, yeah. And then I was like, I don't like telling him about my knee, because we've talked about my knee before, he then moves the kneecap, which makes me vomit in my mouth because it's so painful. But there's no hiding the knee, because I couldn't even straighten the leg. So he got in behind the kneecap. The kneecap made it much better. But he did say, all your muscles, Eddie, he said they're lock solid in your legs. He said, I can't really work with you yet. You need to go and get more massage. He said, when you exercise, and I thought I'd explain this for other people as well, when you've done that amount of race, but not only that, also you did it in in the cold, your body has like totally locked up. And now, of course, I've come back to the freezing cold. And I have kept saying, haven't I? I'm really, really cold. I'm really cold. He said, because your body it's like not, it can't warm itself up. It's gone into like this cold lock. So he said, what you really need to do is go to a spa. And I was like laughing. It's like, no, seriously. He said, you need to go to a spa and get in like the hot, salty baths and all the jets. He said, these muscles need to know that they're warm and they can relax, because he's like, they're like gripping. I was like, that's so interesting, because it is how I feel. It's how my legs feel. Like I can't get them to like relax. So booking a spa
day. A spa on the prescription.
One of my friends said that. She said, can you get that? It's called an ordonnance in France. It's like, can you get, because you can get prescriptions for everything in France. Ooh. I could go and try. Doctor's a big fan. I could probably say, can I have a little, there's some nice spas around here. Anyway, I was like, I can't really afford a spa, but I'm going to have a really hot bath and see if that helps. And it really did. So spa/hot bath with some of the kids' Christmas presents, like those dissolvable bath bombs. We put those in, and sort of kids jumping on me, but it did feel much better. And he's given me like, even though I came away thinking, oh geez, he clicked in my back, like I have problems with one of my discs, and he put me on the bed and my legs were like still sticking up. It was all so tight. Honestly, it was a disaster. Anyway, he did all that. And he's like, you're going to be a bit stiff. This was yesterday. He's like, you're going to be a bit stiff today. I'm like, a bit stiff today.
You should have said all this before the spine opened. It might have eased the pressure on the entry system.
Because there is nothing out there. There's no studies on athletes post these massive ultras. Like what you should expect when you're expecting, like that book that you all read when you're pregnant. There's no recovery protocol. I know everybody's different, but there is quite a lot of stuff that I've gone through that I am. When I message my mates, Dave, Leon, how you doing? We're all in much. Everyone's got the odd, different niggles, and everybody's still Marco. Everyone's still massively recovering, and I don't think that that's talked about enough. I think it's like people will only talk about the recovery when they're feeling much better.
I think you lose a bit sometimes. You lose a bit of yourself for these big, even 100-miler. I don't quite get back to how I was before.
No.
And also this sport's relatively new in the skate, so there's not much information on it.
I wonder the difference between men and women as well, like the recovery and stuff. Like, be good. I'm like, oh, I wish I was a scientist, because you could, but then of course you've such a small case study. So I'm using myself as a case study for this. So now I'm going to try and do some hot water, really stretch some muscles when they're warm. I went for a little jog this morning, and I actually mobilized myself before I went, and then I wore loads of clothes on my legs to try and keep the muscles warm. And then when I came back, I did all my mobility, and it was much better. So
it's good to do the maintenance, the mobility, the things that you don't.
So going back to the maintenance, we have a little back room that we use when we need to quiet from the kids, and the kids are here. We need to do calls and stuff. And I also used it as my gym, office/gym. Everybody probably has one of those, dumping place, and you can shut the door. But I hadn't really used it or been in there, and so that I didn't want to, because it was such a tip and everything was everywhere. So on Sunday, I cleared everything out, sorted all my kit out, lifted up the treadmill, and underneath the treadmill was an Eaton Spring Energy gel and a load of mouse poo. Some mouse had the best time, had obviously eaten this gel and then absolutely shotted itself everywhere, because those Spring Energy gels pack a punch. Cleared that all up, cleared everything out, reorganized everything, and that felt good too. So now I've got my space back to do my strength. I started back. I did my first proper strength session back, which felt good. But then now I know how bad my arms are. I'm like, I didn't tell the chiropractor what I'd been doing with my upper body. But again, I'm going to experiment with myself and see how I feel. I can run a little bit. It's good to move the knee. I just need to be.
How's the knee though when you're doing strength stuff?
I just need to mobilize it. I need to move it. And so it's actually better, like lots of people say, for it's actually better. The more you use it, like lunging and stuff, the first few lunges I go click, clack, and then it feels better. So I just continue with that. And a couple of people have said, you're sad because you can't get out as much, blah, blah, blah. But I still feel fine. A little bit of movement every day, a little bit of mobility. Yeah. And I actually feel fine, because I'm not that desperate to jump back in. I'm going to listen to Gary's recovery advice in week 5. Still only on week 4, 3.5. Got loads of time.
Sometimes I say things and it's like, oh, is there anything to back that up? But yeah, looks like I got it right this time.
Bang on. There's more people that get it right. That's our coaches. Let's do Brew with the coaches.
Yeah, Matt Walklett got in touch for this week's Brew with the coaches, and yeah, he just needs a bit of shoe advice.
Oh, it's horrible when you can't find the right shoe for what, and probably we've all dialed in what shoes work for us. Russell, what is your take on finding the right shoe to fit you?
Hi, Matt. Yes, I'm going to be honest with you here, and it is a trial and error process. You're not going to be able to, I don't think, find the shoe in the store. In my experience, you're going to have to put the shoe on, get out on the hills, run with it, and run with it for a good few weeks or even a month before you can really be sure that shoe is or isn't right for you. And over the process of months and years, you do start to narrow in on what works. It's just a trial and error thing. I don't really think there are shortcuts or there are quick answers. Like some people like half an inch, some people like a lot more. Some people like, to wear thick socks, and it's just one of those things you're just going to have to try, and the answers aren't always going to be on a Facebook forum or in a YouTube podcast. It's just trial and error in my experience, I'm afraid.
I think it sounds like you haven't quite got the right fit of your shoe. So there are really good running shops. There's a really good Pro Feet in Putney in London, which were excellent at finding the right shoe for you, for fitting, for gait analysis. And so doing a bit of research online and finding a shop that you can actually go and have your shoe feet measured, so that you are actually making sure that you're getting the right size, and trying on a few in the shop is worth it. You're not then committed to buy them, but just to get a bit more of a feel, because it sounds with the blisters and the foot moving around as well, that the sizing isn't quite right. Sadly, I mean, we've all been there. And there's multiple trainers for multiple different terrains and what you might actually be doing. And it's just a case of trial and error. And some people, as Russell said, like more... I like a roomy toe box. I like to be able to spread my toes out.
Depends on the racer, doesn't it? If it's say a half marathon or a 10K, then yeah, I can have more of that race fit or something that you might get on an MV or a VJ. But 100 miler, yeah, I'd want a bit of race and some thick socks on there. I wonder where Matt lives, because I don't exactly live in the metropolis, but I've got a few running shops I could make my way to. And for me, comfort, it's like it's not like that glass slipper, but it's the shoes I've just put on, and immediately I've just known that is such a comfy shoe. And then sometimes I've maybe been drawn into social media, and there's some shoes that I want to work for me and they don't. And then that's sometimes where I come unstuck, maybe where I've tried to squeeze my toe into some could be the Scott Ultra RCs. I really wanted to wear those for the Lakeland 100. They look great in all the pictures. But I went for the Scott Kinnabalas because there was a bit more room and a bit more cushioning, and you just have to own that decision. So yeah,
what you see on social media as well, like all the pros who are sponsored with shoe sponsors, they have their shoes made for them with insoles. They're all prototypes made for their feet. So when you think, but these guys are all wearing this, should we say brands? Better not say brands. Big branded names, but I can't fit my feet into them. Why have I got hobbit feet? Lots of them are actually prototypes made for them. So buying a trainer off the shelf is actually terrible, isn't it? It is landfill, because we've all got these different feet. In fact, probably if we had trainers made for us, they would last a lot longer and cause a lot less problems as well. Trish, what's your trainer of choice for the Arc?
I'm using La Sportiva Akashi. I think with shoes, from my experience, I think it's good to talk about shoes with friends, because actually, friends got done a race and actually they say, they were really grippy, or they aren't grippy, or they're not good in these conditions. I think that's all good, all good stuff to know. And some shoes definitely are more suited to like a narrower foot than people who've got wider feet. Salomon, for example, I find them to be, they fit me quite well, but they are quite a narrow fit, and a lot of people can't get their feet in those. So I think in terms of, you know, getting stuff from the internet, there's lots of stuff you can read about, and I don't, you know, get as much information as you can, but ultimately you can measure your own feet, and lots of the shoes that are out there will have those specifications as well. So you can measure your own feet and give you a rough guide. There are certain brands that will be more for a narrow foot, I would say, and others that, you know, are for a wider foot. But again, it is trial and error. I never really spend that much time faffing about with shoes because I wear, like, you know, one pair of shoes for like 1,000 miles. So I change my shoes like maybe a couple of times a year, if that. I mean, I've got a pair of Scott's Ultra. I've talked about my Scott's Ultra before. Rubbish for mud, and, you know, you can go like ice skating. But I've put about 1,000 miles on those shoes now, and they still look great. Well chuffed with those.
You're never going to find a shoe that fits for the all-terrain as well. So people are always hunting for. I wore my North Face shoes, and I knew the first like day of the Spine I was going to be all over the place in the mud. But I knew once I hit the rockier, icier terrain, they were going to come into their own. So I sort of took the hit of the fact that I was going to have a bit more energy to slide around on the mud, and then they were going to be better in the second half. And I think. Yeah, everybody, if you're doing an massively,
I think people get too caught up in shoes, full stop. Way too caught up in shoes. Like, at the end of the day, if it's muddy, they've got good lugs, they're probably going to be okay. If it's, you know, it's you're never going to get a perfect shoe. If it's going to be muddy, you want lugs. The end. That's it.
I do go, you know, that classic though. I would have that thumb width at the end of the shoe, and that seems to work for me. And also, I lace them up. I use every eyelet on the shoe so I can lock my heel right in. But that's just for my own personal preference. I don't want any kind of heel slippage. But yeah, like I said before, it's comfort. Immediately, I know I put shoes on and just thought, nope. Even as much as I wanted to buy them and those be the shoe, I had to say no. But hopefully, Matt, I don't think we've kind of really answered this question.
We've just reassured you that you're not alone in your epic hunt for trainers. Let us know. Send us some pictures on Facebook of.
If you can get to a shop. If you can get to a shop, Matt, we definitely would go down there and try some on. Go for a run. I know my local running shop, Northern Runner up in Newcastle. It's not a great test, but they do let you go running down the kind of alleyway behind the shop. You can have a little, at least get them on your feet and have a little run around.
This week, Gary and I are going to talk all about kit. To many of you, all of you, hopefully, who's listened to my episode of Spine, I did a lot of the Spine race with Centurion's James Elson. I also work in their coaching format, and I run for the Centurion team. James has put together an incredible video. Now, it is feature-length movie long over on YouTube and on the Centurion channel, and it goes through all the kit he used. James not only competed the Spine, but he's done every kind of big race out there. This guy is a mountain guy. He knows his stuff. So if you are looking into the Spine or into any long mountain race, this is a video for you. It's also got the little tabs. Is there a special word for the tabs?
Chapters is the technical term.
Chapters is the technical term. So if just looking for something, you can scroll along and look for the thing you specifically want to talk about. Alongside that, he's written a whole massive thousands of words article on all the kit he used, and Debs, Damo, and I also helped him write that and put in our own personal like little bits of perhaps we used something different, or perhaps we had any tips and that's in the same place over on the Centurion Running website, and it's really good. Really good information. As I read it, I learned lots, even though I was like, oh yeah, I remember him doing that. That's really good.
I had some good feedback on the YouTube video. I said to a friend, Aaron, I was like, God, I wouldn't watch an hour and a half YouTube video. And I was like, I did.
People love it. People love it. So we thought that we would also talk a little bit about our kit. We're not going to go into every detail, but I just thought I'd direct people over to those Centurion channels. James obviously really knows his kit as well because he runs the Centurion store. So we're going to talk about our kit as a kind of like personal experience, what we've kind of worked out, what works for us. But there is no, like anything in life, hands-on experience. You've got to go and try out the stuff for yourself. And I'm afraid in something mega like the Spine, ding, 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 ding. You have to throw a bit of money at this because you might try stuff and then not like them. And so it is a case of a little bit, or you better try and borrow stuff if you can and work out what works for you. There are some fundamental bits of kit, obviously, that you're going to have to buy for yourself. So we're going to kind of talk about those. I put a Facebook post out, so we've got some questions as well. So we're going to work through that. And we will also put all the links to the Centurion stuff and our stuff on Facebook, and Gary is going to put the link in the show notes too. Kit is exhaustive. I mean, there is so much stuff, and it can actually be quite anxious. I know for the spine, the anxiety about the kit was one of the biggest things. So one of my big things was I'm going to keep it as simple as possible, and that was a really good. I kept like my layering system really, really simple. So there were no decisions to be made. I basically had, this is how I'm going to wear these layers, and that was it. This is it. Finite amount of kit I'm going to have. So we're going to go through the things which give sort of like the biggest anxiety, working from the bottom up. And feet is the thing that everybody said that if your feet go on a long race, even a shorter race, it can be it can be horrendous because it's all you can think about. Have you ever had a race finish, Gary, because your feet were too sore?
No, I've been really lucky with that, actually. And it's interesting because we've got such a massive, my experience in races is completely different to the spine. So although, you do need to pay attention to your feet for a 100-miler, maybe not to the same extent that you have. I've been really lucky. My feet are a mess. Don't get me wrong. They're not exactly very pretty, but it's never finished a race, no.
So my feet were not a mess after the spine. And one thing I swear by, and Damo, Debs, James, and I all used the Dexshell socks. We were really lucky in some ways. Because it was dry, though we were on snow a lot. The bogs and the mud, the first sort of 100-mile was quite wet, but then we were not treated to full on wet. We did have quite dry feet. So I'd actually say the deck shells for that use were actually really good because they were warm and they kept the feet warm. But I would say if you're going to look for a race, this is winter as well, because we had a question about summer socks. Deck shells are great if it's cold, if it's wet. Look for the knee length ones. A little top tip is that if you do wear the knee length ones, if you snip the elastic because as the race goes on, because your legs really swell, and so the elastic around the calf can get really tight, so it might be worth, if you do wear them. I think at Middleton I snipped the top of mine just to take a little bit off the elastic, but the people swear by the deck shells. People also try a liner within the deck shell. I know Debs loves an Ninja liner within the deck shell. I tried that quite a few times, but I found my foot moving a bit too much. It was the only time I actually felt uncomfortable with the liner, so I didn't wear a liner. I didn't put anything on my feet at all. No creams, nothing. And I've got no black toenails. I've got nothing on my feet.
Looked amazing in Middleton. I couldn't believe it.
I did get 2 blisters on the inside of my heels over the Cheviots because my feet swelled. Is that the word? Swelled up so much in the last 24 hours. But that was nothing to do with the socks. So I would say in a winter, maybe something like the Bob Graham or anything where it's going to potentially be cold, be wet, go for a deck shell. I don't find that I need to have a shoe size bigger with them, though they are quite thick. But again, that's something you might need to try.
Got to try that out, because especially if you're putting a liner in.
Then when you put the liner in, that's when things can get a little bit dodgy. I ran with quite a few people that tried the trench foot cream, and they swore by that. That's made, and I like the fact that it's made in Cornwall by a guy who's done all these sorts of races and hasn't been able to find a cream that has worked. You can prepare your feet with this cream and you can use it during. Deb swears by Elizabeth Arden 8-hour cream on her feet. She must have the fanciest feet around. So there's a really good book that you can buy, which is how you prepare your feet for ultras. Or proper link.
I've got this book. What's it called? Yeah,
Ultra Foot Layer. I didn't have to tape my feet at all. I think I tried a little bit of tape on the bottom when the ball of my foot felt a little bit bruised, but actually ended up taking it off. But depending,
and the knee length is just in case you end up knee deep
So
in the bog.
you definitely want a knee length sock on the spine because one, the bogs, the snow, and for warmth, and also they just add a bit of compression on the calf as well. And it's just that extra layer as well. So I would say you can experiment with both. I think for one of the sections, when I knew it was going to be dry, I actually went for I wore the ankle for one of the sections just to give that the calf a little bit of room to breathe. But I think I went back then to the knee length because I could feel the cold as well in the calf, which I couldn't feel when I had the knee length on. What about in the summer over something more Lake District terrain? What was
my
sock?
Lake District and Bob Graham round socks were the Injiji, the Ultra Run Mini Crew, which are a thicker sock, so you've got a bit more cushioning. And when you got legs like mine, Eddie, you don't want to put calf. you don't want knee length socks on. You want
Do you not? Why? Show those calves off.
Show them off, Mike. But yeah, they were awesome for me. I just really like the Injiji socks. So
Do they have the toes?
Yeah,
because I don't like that.
Okay,
The
I don't like
separate
I don't
toes.
like taking them off. There's a bit of a faff on there. But I left them on for Bob Graham round and Lakeland 100. It was quite common for people to change them at Dale Main. I didn't do that. I left them on all the way. Also, in the summer, you hope that the weather's okay, but it could be a torrential downpour. You don't really get the bogs on the Lakeland 100 with the nature of the trails, but you could get the bogs definitely on the Bob Graham round too. So maybe, the deck shell knee length might be worth considering as a backup, for on the day if the weather changes. But when I did the Bob and Lakeland 100, that wasn't an issue. Yeah, I've been a long-term fan of the NGG socks.
Good enough for Courtney. They're good enough for for anybody else. Let's move on a little bit now to pole storage. That was another big question over on Facebook. How you store your poles, where you put them. Okay, the biggest thing is you got to practice. You got to practice what you're going to do because it could be a bit stressful. If you've not practiced, practice with poles, you doofus. Don't use poles in a race when you've never used them before because, as Gary knew, it's a different muscle set. You move differently. So practice your pole usage before you go. Pole storage. So if you're doing something really long like the spine, you are literally going to never put your poles away. So storage, there were 2 times when I put my poles away and I wasn't gripping onto them for dear life. One was going up Cauldron Snout when you need hands to keep alive. And the other was at Penny Ghent. I possibly could have climbed Penny Ghent with them in my hand, actually. But because you're tired and you're going to do a bit more upper body pulling up than you want to be even, I remember putting them away for that. But apart from that, I literally never put them away because I wouldn't have been able to move forward without them in the last one. They're there not only just to help you move, but the stabilization and the leaning on them. Everyone will relate to this when they've got really tired. Oh, there's nothing better than having
a lot of people have the quivers, don't they? I don't know how they work on a big
you wouldn't be
pack.
able to use a quiver on the spine because the pack's too big.
Yeah.
So you can cross that off your wishes. So I used, so we can mix in pack talk as well now. I used the Montaigne Gecko 20-litre pack for the spine. Pretty much would give it 9.5 out of 10. If you're looking at moving at relative speed for the spine, you want something that you can run with. I would say this is the pack for you. I had not one bit of back pain, chafing. I didn't even know I was carrying my pack. I never felt, I had trained extensively with this pack, but also just the way it's made, it's super comfortable. It's super good because it fits a woman as well. And it's got these elastic straps at the top so you can tighten and loosen according to when you have put, because we all saw the photos of me leaving Bellingham. Literally had so many clothes on, but you could still get the pack on and then make it fit. So that's one of the really good selling points of it. It's got excellent pole storage at the front. It just takes a little bit of practice, but I literally was like a pole storage ninja. I could do it in 2 seconds. Put the poles away. The other time I put away was when I went in the co-op so that I could carry all my crisps and my Coke. It's got pole storage at the front, and you just pull the tab. Super easy to do. Just took a bit of practice to get used to doing it yourself. Just make the sharp ends, make sure the sharp ends.
So that must be different because I've got the smaller Gecko pack, and its pole storage is I think on the back. It's got the little bungees on the back.
I don't know if that might be a new thing as well. Again, you could fire this question at James as well because he stocks all this, or Montaigne. The other super tip I will share for free is these elastic straps that you pull across the front. The bag comes with two, and I got another one and put a higher one up at the top to take the weight off the top bit as well, and that was brilliant as well. So why I take half a point off for this pack is that as my hands got stiffer and colder, it's a running pack, and so I found it harder to do the little zips and the catches and stuff. But that was momentary, that was like, oh, this is annoying, rather than I couldn't do it. So quite a few people have the on packs, and then you get a chest pod at the front.
Oh yeah,
so that's really good, especially when you're tired, because you can just dip your hand in here. And
I think I'd use that anyway. I saw that, and people putting the GPS in there and some other bits and bobs.
Yeah. So as well as the pack, I used a naked belt. To do so, I stored most of my food, and I stored my GPS in my pack because it's quite big, it's quite bulky. So I used one of my front pockets for that, and then I used a naked belt for all my food, to attach my head torch battery, for my map. Nothing that if I dropped out, it would be game. Like, I had enough food that if one bar dropped out, it wasn't the end of the world. So I didn't pay anything. I bought a naked belt. So you could store your poles in a naked belt. I'm always anti-storing poles in a belt because I don't like them on my back in case I fall onto my back. So, but lots of people do. They like storing that on the back. So you definitely need two storage devices for a race the length of a spine, the bag and some sort of pack. I bought a naked belt. I bought it 2 sizes bigger so I could put it over my layers rather than next to my skin. So I sort of had it like layer 2 or 3 and then an overlayer, so I could get to it easily. It was quite loose. I was thinking as well my stomach might swell a bit, so you don't want anything tight. The only thing I found about that, and again why I would like maybe look at a different storage system, is that when you need a wee as a woman, you have to pull everything down. And so I would have my battery pack and the wire and this belt with all my stuff and like 2 pairs of leggings, waterproof, trying to pull it all down with the wire down.
But this way you've got to test it. You've got to get out there and run with it.
Yes, you've got to test it. So I got better at like how far I'd pull everything down. So
I like the idea when you said about having so with the 2 systems you could store your poles either on your bag or the belt if you had to, because something could snap, simple as that. And then
exactly. But the quiver, I don't know about you, Gary, but for something over a 50 or 100, I use the quiver on my Salomon backpack where I need less kit, and it's super easy. You can I love it because I feel like Robin Hood. Maid Marian, and you just put them in. Super easy to put them in. Super easy.
Yeah, I've got a couple of friends who have the quiver, and it's definitely seems like an easy system. I've got a similar system to you. Mine is an ultimate direction utility belt, which I can stuff loads of food in, and I can put the poles on the back. It's quite good. The little bungees have got like a little rubber grip on them, so the poles don't slip around as much.
Does it bother you? Does it bang on your back?
It doesn't bother me, but what I would say, if anybody looks at this belt, check the size. Initially, I bought a small waist belt, and I am a small guy. I'm like 5'6". I'm about 9 stone or something, and I ended up buying a large in the end. I sent it back a few times, just went up and up and up with the sizes, and the large fit me. So yeah, keep that in mind. Also with my race vest, I should have bought a larger size with that initially. But yeah, really good. The ultimate direction, very similar to what you had, that naked pack, and I could put the poles on my waist belt and I could put the poles on my backpack if something failed mid-race. But like you say, even for the Lakeland 100, once they were out, they never went back.
Not really. I know people stress about like, how am I going to eat? How am I going to, if I need to, fiddle with something, it's all just practice. You can, the Lecky ones or any foldable ones, it was super easy to fold away if you need to, or you just stop. You dig them into the ground if the ground's soft enough.
It didn't stop me eating. I'd manage my food. So if it was a technical bit of terrain, then I'd maybe take on liquid calories. It was just a bit easy to do that with my hands and everything. But if it was a runnable section, then I could be a bit more, had a bit more versatility with what I could eat. It didn't stop me at all. The cold would have stopped me. You can take my hands out of gloves, but not.
Yeah, we'll go into gloves next. But also, you didn't mention the pack that you ran with.
Oh yeah, I used the Scott. I'll weigh everything, Eddie. I'm terrible. So I used the Scott Trail RC. Actually, no, we go back to your pack. So I'm sure Dougie's Innes had that pack too. So it was a good endorsement. The two people on the podium there had that Montane pack. Another pack that I saw that was really popular was the Ultimate Direction. Their fast pack her, I think it's called. That, I think anecdotally, I wasn't there with a little clipboard checking everybody's spine pack at Middleton. I wasn't doing that.
I wish that wouldn't that be cool? When you do the triathlon world championships, Ironman, they do everything. So they do your trainers, your bike, your goggle. Like they do a whole massive. There's like rows of people sitting as you in, and they go through everything that you're using.
That's good.
And then they have really good statistics at the end to say what people used. So be interesting to know. So Leon, who I ran with a lot, he had the on pack and he had the chest pod, and I was definitely quite jealous of that at the end because it was like Mary Poppins at this chest pod.
Yeah.
It seemed so easy for him to put his hand in and to pull out olives. Still dream about this.
Anything, your phone, olives, your GPS, whatever's in there.
Yeah, it was all there. So I did think but those packs are heavier.
Like I mentioned, I'm so mindful of the weight. So for my Lakeland 100, it was the Scott Trail RC 10 pack. But then it was backed up with the belt. So I had food in the belt. So I wasn't really relying on the pack itself for loads of storage. And again, though, for some reason why, I'm not too sure, but that pack came up. I ordered a small and I needed to go for, I think, a medium in that pack. But I had a few comments. Maybe I think it was on St. Cuthbert's Way. They didn't think I was carrying all the right kit because the pack is so small. But it was fine. I had everything in there I needed for St. Cuthbert's Way and Lakeland 100. And if I pop it on the scales compared to my Montane, it is so much. It could be nearly half the weight, I think. But it's definitely there's not as much going on. There's not as much storage. But like I say, I would spread the load over my body and even into my shorts too. I've got like little stretchy stuff pockets in my shorts. But yeah, Scott Trail RC 10 pack. That was my pack.
I think spreading the weight is a great idea as well. Any bits of kit so you don't have it all on your shoulders. So I stored my phone in a pocket in my leggings. Again, this is I tried and tested like where I wanted to have my phone. And it took up quite a lot of space in the front pockets in the pack. And I knew I wanted to put one of my GPS in one of those pockets. And then in the belt, I was slightly nervous it might fall out because the belt was a little bit bigger. But the leggings that I chose to wear had a really good pocket. So I put it in there. I also knew it would stay warm because it'd be next to me if it was really cold. And the only time I came a bit unstuck with that was when I crossed one of the river crossings and I went deeper than expected and I know it submerged and I came out and I was too scared to check. I was like, I can't check if my iPhone has been ruined.
They're waterproof though, aren't they? They are waterproof, I think.
Yeah, because it was fine. So that was really good because I always knew where my phone was. It was in the same place because sometimes your pack admin can get a little bit...
That's why I'll have my certain things in my belt. So you put your phone in a certain place because when your head's a bit fried, you just know food's there, drinks are here, phone's there, your waterproof vest is, your jacket's there. Yeah, it's good.
Talking about drink, we had a really cold year this year for the spine and any cold races, the Cheviot Goat, for instance, your water bottles can freeze. I know some of the storage you can get like thermal covers for the water bottles, but I still think that those would have frozen like the caps on them.
Yeah.
So mine froze. I think lots of people have said that because I think people have said like, what about getting water? You drink a lot less because it's cold. You're not moving as fast. You're not sweating as much. You don't feel, because I was really nervous about how I would get water when I recce'd it. We were moving a lot faster in the recce than the actual swine. I did drink, so I never topped up my water between official checkpoints or the halfway checkpoints.
Wow.
I don't. Occasionally, there would be on like the first day there were all those mountain rescue checkpoints, but after the first day, there's no pop-up ones. There's no surprise ones. It is what is written on the tin.
Do you find yourself you were dehydrated though, or not?
Oh my God. So, and then the bottles froze, so you couldn't drink it anyway.
Oh, wow.
So a top tip for stopping your bottles freezing: one, you can put slightly warm water in them, just have to not super hot. And if you blow into the cap quite a few times, like keep blowing down into the cap, it stops it freezing. So I learned that, like I kept trying to remind myself, like every 15 minutes or so, to blow into them. Then they crack because they're frozen, and if you bite them and they're frozen, so carry spare. So you can look and get into the thermal bottles, but I'm not even sure that works. So that might be something to think about as well, is how you're going to carry your water. Gloves. Oh my goodness. Super important for a winter race is the ability to use your hands. As we know, when you lose the ability to use your hands, it is not only can be race changing, ending, it's bloody miserable as well, not being able to use your hands. I spent so much money, Gary, on gloves. Oh my goodness. You've
got a drawer full of gloves that you thought you were going to use.
I have, and they're brand new and I never used them.
No.
So it's okay. Everyone, you're getting them for Christmas. You're going to get some lovely warm gloves. Because as well, different gloves for different weather terrain. Like if it had been really wet, I'd have gone through a lot more gloves. Because it was dry, it was cold, I needed warmer gloves. So things to think about when you're looking at gloves. James has written a really good thing, which I'm going to read because it's exactly what I think we all ended up using these gloves. They're Montaigne gloves. He prefers to have fingers. I prefer to have mittens. I like a mitt, and I know definitely David and Leon, who I was moving, we were all in mittens because our hands were like really swollen, or with mine, like I couldn't move them. So I ended up, just being able to pull them off with my teeth. Attaching a glove leash to your gloves.
Good idea.
For any winter race, any race where you're going to need gloves, so that you can take them off and they're just hanging. Because if you lose a glove, it is, again, can be race ending. Black cell, like you can make them out of like just elastic and a bit of cord, or black sell them, and then they're easy. And
like
I
when
actually
you were a kid at school, wasn't it? You used to have little...
This is exactly it. They were laughing at me because it checkpoints. But then as well, when I went to change the gloves I was using, I just asked somebody to help me at the checkpoint to change the leash on the gloves. So Primaloft is what you want to use, and it goes the same. Primaloft is the word you want to look for any bit of kit for a winter race over down, because if Primaloft gets wet, it still works as a layer. Down, like feather stuff.
Well, the artificial material of Primaloft's good.
Down will just get wet. I did actually wear a down jacket on over the Cheviots with my waterproof over the top. I had actually planned to do that, and so I'm super glad I did that. But I also have my hands on a number of down jackets because I wear them all the time here for skiing.
It's a good point that you make with the wet. I noticed just on my local runs, I've got some Prism gloves. They're not the mittens, just for local running. And if it's drizzling, it doesn't seem to. My hands don't seem to get too cold, even if the glove is wet.
So I went for the Montaigne Prism dry line mitt. You have a look. They change sort of what they bring out every season, so it might be slightly different, but that's what I wore, and I'm still wearing them now. I have actually put them in the washing machine now because there is a baby bell wrapper still stuck on the inside that I can't cut off, so I'm going to wash them. So I had a couple of pairs of those those are all I wore. Those are all I wore in the end, and you can get a waterproof outer glove for them as well if it's really harsh conditions. But for something as big as a spine, I'm afraid it is something that you have to put some money in, because you do need to have 2 or 3 pairs of a glove. If you fall in a bog, then your glove is wet, you've got to change it, so you need a spare pack, and then you need another spare in your emergency kit bag as well. So if you find a glove that works for you, you're looking at investing in probably 3 pairs, and it does take a bit of trial and error to what glove works for you as well.
But it's mega serious. Don't not underestimate this point, because if you don't have spare gloves and you get wet, that is just going to be horrendous and potentially dangerous if you're not going to eat and stuff like that, which is a side effect of cold hands and not wanting to do stuff. Definitely.
What about like a lightweight glove, Gary? Would you put a lightweight glove on a Bob Graham round, or on a
not a summer round?
No.
Definitely didn't. I think you have to pack gloves for Lakeland 100. I would literally just have the lightest gloves that were around. I'm a really optimistic runner, so I don't think it's going to be too bad. Too bad weather.
I love that. I I don't need that. Well, actually, what's on that kit list? Because I'm a really optimistic runner, and
no. I'll always have the kit. I'll just maybe go as light as possible. Definitely on a winter board, but my glove of choice when I'm running, say if I'm over to say the lakes the other day, would be just a skinny little glove and then my Montane Prisms. I do like the mitts, and I've got some sealskin mitts. And again, it would just be a glove liner with the sealskin mitts.
I didn't wear a liner, and I wish I had, because when you pull the mitts off, if you've got like a really thin liner, your hand is always covered.
Yeah.
So I definitely, again, would look. You can just get a really cheap, can't you?
Oh yeah, just from like Sports Direct or something.
Yeah. I wish I had done that as well. And also, when it got a bit hot, I could have taken the mittens off, just let them flap around on my child's cord, and let my hand. I don't remember ever having hot hands, apart from I did put my ski gloves on when we got freezing at Hut 1, and then as soon as we set off, I still had them on, and then I was like, oh my god, I got my hand, I'm so hot. I love it. Right, let's talk, I think, two more things which would be really good to talk about: jacket and head torch, because these are two other big investments, and you don't want to buy one jacket and try it and then go, I don't like it. That's not the sort of thing that you want to be. I think, jackets are expensive, but you're hopefully looking at getting, a good 5 years plus out of them. I know I bought my first Montane Spine jacket. Well, how old is Lindy? Because she ate my La Sportiva Hail jacket, which I loved. So 3 years ago, I bought my first one, and I made the mistake because I washed it a couple of times. And I shouldn't have done that, because then the waterproofness goes. I think you do have to wash them at some point.
I don't wash mine.
Oh my god!
I think I've got my Montane. So I've got a Ron Hill Shake Dry jacket, and that's probably 3 years old now. And I've got to say, that's the best waterproof jacket I've ever had. It's awesome.
Montane have come out with another step up from the Spine jacket now. James has gone into more details about it. I wore the Montane Spine jacket in my normal size of a size 10. This is another super tip coming your way, listeners, for all my training. And then as I sort of started training in more winter weather, I was like, I don't think this is waterproof. It was starting to stick to me. Okay. Like I could see my layers underneath. I'm not sure this is waterproof much anymore. So I decided, as that was potentially a race ending, I had to have a really good jacket. I bought another one, but I bought a size up, and that was the best thing I did, because you can then put layers underneath. You want your jacket to be close fitting in a shorter race where you're not going to need to. You want it to be as tight fitting basically as you can, so that you're comfortable, so you can move really well. But for a race like the Spine where you want to be able to layer underneath it, I would suggest going a size up. It also meant that when I had my layers on with the hood, I could still get the hood up over really easily over further down my head than the size smaller, like over my head torch and everything. Just little things like that. I love that Montane Spine jacket. I wore it from the start to the finish. I never took it off, and it served me so well. So, and I did wash it. I had to wash it, Gary. It was disgusting. But I would say that investing in a jacket for a race like that's probably up there with the gloves.
I know you have to go up I know you have to go up a size, but it's such a shame because I'm fussy about how my clothes fit, and I would never wear it. I think you have to
let some of this go a little bit, Gary. Like you have to kind of like
the race, but then I just wouldn't wear it afterwards. So it would be quite an indulgent purchase. But yeah, you're right. You need to get something under your jacket.
James has got lots of different jackets, lots of good. Some people, again, I kind of thought like if I had money was no object and being able to have all this kit was no object, I would have kind of liked a thicker jacket over the last like 24 hours as you're going into the Cheviot and it's really cold, but that wasn't really an option. I just layered underneath it as much as I could. Head torch. Choice of head torch. There's a couple of things that you want to look at when you're looking at the lumens, how long the battery life, how you change the battery, how heavy you're prepared to carry the head torch, what you're sort of looking at of a head torch, where you're running. So how much light you're actually going to need if you're doing something like Autumn 100 or perhaps which is one of the Centurion races, less technical. You're not perhaps going to need to light up the trail as much as perhaps you want to do if you're doing something like.
Yeah, I wonder how many
Jean
lumens you can
or
get away with.
UTMB.
I always think probably 300 is enough, but then you get some mega torches out there.
It was something I was really nervous about. I know I've talked about it before, of the light and the fact that a lot of the spine race is in dark and you don't have a lot of ambient light.
Yeah.
You also have a lot of cloud potential, fog, so you need to have a light that you're going to be able to adjust really well. So I took Jason's advice on this, and I had an LED lenser, full on. James called it my mining torch, and ripped the proverbials off me and if you've seen the picture, it is massive. But it was super comfy. So it had like the band that goes over your head and then round your head. And then I was able to take the battery. It had an LED battery, and I fixed the battery onto my belt with the wire running down my back. So if I needed to change the battery, it was just there, super easy. And I never changed the battery. So I had a spare battery with me, and I just charged it for however long I was at checkpoints, 2 or 3 hours. And it never faltered. It was brilliant. The light, I know there's a picture of me on Hadrian's Wall, and someone has commented, we'll have to find it on Facebook. You can see my light.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
Amazing. I could see, because it was something that when I'm tired, I don't want to be trying to stare at the trail. I want the trail to be as lit as possible. So it was heavier. I mean, it's much heavier than a Petzl head torch, but I was prepared to take that hit for the battery. And for that, it also had this amazing thing that when sometimes we'd get to bits where we couldn't see, the arrow would be saying straight ahead, but you couldn't see, like, it was like, where are we going? Like Hadrian's Wall, and where's the path, or where's the gate at the other end of this field? There's quite a lot of that after Alston. There's like 20k of like just going across fields, and the gate can be, or the style can just be a brick coming out from the wall. So it had this bit that you could twist at the front to make it into like this massive spotlight.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
It was amazing. And a couple of times I was with other people and I did it. They were impressed, Gary. Let's just say it like that. I'd be like, hang on a second.
Sometimes they torch do them themselves, don't they? It's like a reactive light, and it doesn't do it sometimes when you want it to do it. So yeah, to be able to manually do it's great. This
was a really good bit of kit. It's quite race specific that I would never wear that head torch for UTMB or for 100. I would feel like you, Gary, then I would be like, people would laugh, but like, what are you doing? But for that race, it gave me reassurance. It never failed. I loved it. And so I'd recommend having a look on the Lenser page as well. But there's other brands as well coming along which are just as good as those. It just happened that this is what I tried and I was happy, so I used it. Yeah, my Lakeland 100 head torch was probably a brand I don't think anybody would have heard of us from head torch, but there was called BioLite, and I used their 800 Pro. And the light need in the Lakeland 100, because obviously end of July you're not in the dark, but hopefully not for 2 nights. That's plan A. I don't want to go and do a second night, but definitely just for 1 night. And the sun's up quite early, so my light needs are completely different. The trails are generally pretty simple to navigate. It had good battery life. This one did have the battery pack was on the back of the band. But again, I tested it, I'd ran with it loads of times, so that wasn't an issue for me bouncing around. Simple as that. It had enough lumens, it was light enough to just get me through the job, and it was great. But yeah, Curveball, I would always be all over like Petzl, LED lens, those kind of brands. But I did have the silver Trail Runner Free Ultra in my drop bag at Daleman. In case I needed it, but I didn't need it. Awesome head torch. But yeah, like I say, it's a bit of a curveball. I think I'm the only person I know who's got a BioLite. Well, same with mine. Same with my head torch. The other thing about the battery pack is if you are running in cold weather, you've got to have that battery pack. Don't have it on the back of your head because it will die in the cold. So you can get extension leads for nearly all of these head torches that have got these extra battery packs. So definitely worth getting those. And then again, trying it out where you're going to put it on your kit so you're super comfortable with how you're going to get it out and how you're going to change. It's all a bit fiddly. There's loads more we can talk about. All the different clothes we've used as trail runners on the mountain, what works, what doesn't. But hopefully that gives you a little flavour of like bits the extremity bits that you need to think about. All the stuff I used, all the stuff James used, all the stuff Debs used, all the stuff Damo used can be found on the article that James has written for Centurion. So, gosh, you guys are so lucky because all my kit research was done myself. But I think it's really important. Like, take the learnings from Gary, from me, from James, research, but try what works for you. Don't just use something because somebody says that it's good, because we've all been there. We've all been there, haven't we? And we've been like, Killian uses that, so let's try it.
My shoes are a classic. You know, I did use these Scott Kinabalu shoes, and they weren't the ones I wanted to use because they didn't look as nice as the yellow and black ones. But yeah, I just needed to use them on the day because of the comfort and the extra room in the toe box. So yeah, try them out, test everything out. My goodness me, that's the more. No matter what kit you use, there's loads of different brands and they all do wonderful things. You just really, really have to try it out.
It's never too early to start trying kit as well. If you're thinking about a race next year, start early so you make sure that you become really comfortable with using it as well. Any other questions, just fire them away on the Facebook.
I do have a little nutrition point. Somebody mentioned to me in Middleton that their food had frozen and they couldn't eat it. It was so hard they could eat it. And I'm sure Angela mentioned Tonics wafer biscuits hadn't frozen. So yeah, and I was thinking, I've not done it, but if I was going to do the spine race, I think I would get a little smorgasbord of trail fuel and put them outside and see what I can eat for breakfast the next day.
Again, that's why you wear the belt, because you're keeping it warm. If it's on your pack here, obviously it's going into the elements first. Whereas if you've got something around your middle and then you've got layers over the top of it as well. So I pulled my waterproof trousers over my belt. Oh my God, Gary, you would die. Like how horrible that looked. So I pulled that over. So it did always keep it warm. So I didn't ever have any problems with anything frozen. If I did, I just took the time to nibble it while I was going. It wasn't like we were in a rush.
Yeah, test it out. Test everything out.
I hope you all enjoyed that little snippet of things we've learned from kit, things we use, things we like. I mean, we could talk for hours. Everybody could talk for hours, but let's keep the discussion going. If you've got any specific questions as well, our Facebook group, I mean, it can be ridiculous, but it can also be a host of good advice.
An oracle.
That's the word, an oracle. And if you want real proper wise advice, head over to centurionrunning.com/news. And James has put up all the links. We've got the link to his video, the link to, it's a dissertation worth of spine kit. And it's got all Deb's, Damo's, James and mine tips and tricks that we used. A link to the Tea and Trails podcast, of course. And James has also very kindly given us a 10% discount code to use at the Centurion store for all our patrons. So if you're a patron, you are in for a treat, because at the Centurion store, you can buy pretty much anything you need for any race. And you are also buying from a local business, but also from people that really know their stuff. So they are there if you need them. If you've got any questions as well, you can always fire those away to James at thecenturion.com.
Awesome. Thanks for that, James. And yeah, pop over to our Patreon page and I'll upload the discount code over there. Tales from the trails. I did a bit of research. You know, I mentioned about Deepak. What is he up to? Why is he doing all these miles? Well, his Strava's locked down, so I can't see exactly what he's doing. But from his profile, he's
oh my God, you've gone deep.
Yeah, so curious. Even this week's people who are topping the charts, like, my goodness me, what are these up to? But yeah, Deepak, he's on some like half marathon streak. So yeah, seems like every day he's at least running a half marathon. So that is something. I'm not too sure if it's fundraising or anything like that. Like I say, I can't really see into his profile, but that is super impressive. Our chart over on Strava, Una miles, 108 miles again. Those kind of numbers, unless I was doing an event, mind-boggling. 18 hours too of exercise. So it's a kind of a big numbers there. And then John Heaney. Now I know John Heaney. I mentioned Ali Bailey's Bob going around quite often, but John was on leg one with me, and thank goodness John was there because he was the one that muled Ali's stuff while me and Rob Brooks were left in their wake.
Right in the ditch.
Yeah, so John is, I see John cross country quite often, but he's a fast pack runner. I'm pretty sure he's a fast pack runner. And he goes past me every fixture. So, yeah, he can do everything from a short blast out on the cross-country course to, Bob Graham round too.
We had an email, friend of the show, Sharon Dyson, saviour of Burness, if you went through Burness in the spine this year. She wants us to know 200 entries now for the cold brew events, the Durga Nightcrawler. Sure, I haven't said that right. In the Simonside Hills this coming Saturday, 18th of February. It's a 10-mile trail run in the dark. Obviously, great chance to try it. Your head got torches.
Yeah.
She also just lets us know that Ross Jenkin, I know he posted on our Facebook page that he was going to do an FKT attempt on the Northumberland Coastal Path this coming Sunday, but he's not very well. So get better soon, Ross. And if you need our help again, just give us a shout out when you are fit and healthy.
We teased you last week with our announcement of an active route competition. And
Make it sound professional, Gary. Make it sound professional.
But yeah, we have got it this week and we're going to do for a couple of weeks. Basically, you've got a chance of winning one of two £50 vouchers to spend on the Active Route website. And all you have to do is be a member of our Facebook group or their Facebook group, or maybe it's a like. You have to like their page. I'm not too sure of their situation, but we'll put all the links to the relevant places there. And we'll pop a competition post up on our Facebook group too. And basically, all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is let us know what Active Route product you would buy if you were lucky enough to win one of those vouchers. Yeah, comment on the post and like or join both groups. And we'll pick a winner at random on the 20th of February and we'll announce it on the following show. Good luck.
Will you do your spin the wheel again? I used to love that. Spin the wheel to get the answer. £50, and all you have to do is have a quick look on Active Route, see what tickles your fancy.
Yeah. I need to work this spin the wheel issue because with the last competition there was a lot of people entered it, so that's a lot of names I need to
half-term
input.
Activity, kids, a weekend activity. I can write all the names out. Kids can pick it out of a hat. Time to close off the show now, Gary. Got anything else you want to say? Anything else to the listeners?
Well, I'm not going to thank anybody this week. Not on my watch, Eddie. It's just a bit too much.
It's too much, isn't it? It's too much. All this thanks everyone, we love you, blah, blah, blah. No.
I'm not going to thank any of our wonderful patrons. All those lovely people over on Facebook, Instagram and Strava. No, they're not going to get a thank you either. I'm not going to tell anybody about our awesome Patreon perks. Nobody wants to know about 15% off a Protein Rebel. Nobody wants to know about £5 off at Active Route 2. And you definitely don't want to know about 10% off with sports shoes and 20% off at Silver. Nobody wants to know about our Centurion running store discount code 2. Like I say, not on my watch. It's not going to happen this week.
Too much. It's too much, isn't it? All these offers, all these perks. Let's not do it. Let's move on. Gary, you're so funny. If you're watching on YouTube, I was in hysterics. That was too much, Gary. Gary wrote that. He thought this is the best. I love it. He's gone hysterical.
Occasionally I do try and script a little bit of the show.
I know, but it was just all too much. It was awkward. It's a bit like having those awkward conversations with your parents. That's why people love you, Gary. Right, come on, move on. I've got kids' lunches to cook.
Yes,
Let's do this. What we got coming up?
Ooh, well, I have a Bob Graham round recce leg one on Friday. So yeah, I'm having a little day off on Friday. Adam and Robbo, we're going to do leg one, yeah. And hopefully tomorrow, if I can get everybody motivated, 6 times 5 minutes. Or 20, I already did a hilly fartlek yesterday. The beauty with the Strava plan, the Garmin plan is they always give me 3 quality sessions a week and I'll just pick whichever 2 I like the sound of. Saturday, I might do a weighted hike off the back of the Bob Graham round recce, or maybe a long run to South Shields, like a back-to-back big days. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see how the legs feel when I wake up. But we're going out for a day in South Shields. I'm going to have some food up there. There's a well done to the kids, and long overdue well done to the kids, because they had such a good parents' evening a few weeks ago. So the plan is, if I run to South Shields, I've worked up a massive appetite.
I knew there's always a...
But yeah, what about you? What are you up to?
Well, we have some race plans formulating for Eddie, don't we? I feel you're like my manager, pressurizing me into things. We're not announcing anything yet, but something, we've got plans in the long distance. So don't worry, everyone. This is not happening. This is not next week. I'm going to try and just some hot therapy, get these muscles moving. Hopefully this time next week, everything will be a bit more loosey goosey. I'm a little bit worried about the color of one of my toes, which is quite purple. So I might go to the doctor or I might be like us, Gary, and just totally ignore it and hope it might never come back. It might always be there. It'll be right. Does it matter? Does it matter? Carry on with my bike, carry on with my core and my Pilates. Hopefully, get my hands. I've got a 2-hour massage on to try and get into some of these muscles. I always have 2 hours because I'm like, if you're going to go, an hour is not long enough by the time I get there and we've chatted. So I always just book a couple of hours, and then that's enough time to probably do one leg at the moment, however I am. And then last few days, by the time you listen to this, everybody, kids will so nearly be back at school after 2 weeks of half term, and I can get some air. Oh my gosh, I can get some air, and the resort will have quietened down a bit, and I can actually go skiing. Though the snow is disappearing. On my little jog this morning, I could hear the birds singing, and it's only mid-February, which is not normally. The birds don't come back or start singing until March, so we're sort of 3 weeks ahead. Ooh. We haven't had any snow. There's no snow. There's no snow since I did the spine when it heavily snowed. We haven't had any snow since then, and now it's starting to get warmer in the afternoons and everything's dripping.
Do you get like in the UK, every now and again, end of February, you'll get these little, you'll just think it's spring's coming, and then you get a little blast.
This is it. This is the feeling I get. I sat outside for the first time having my post-lunch cup of tea just before the sun goes over the mountains. And normally I don't do that till March. It's like 2 or 3 weeks earlier than it should be. But so that's a bit worrying. But I'm going to go out next week and have some nice fun ski days with my friends, have a little bit of Eddie time, get some air after the last 2 weeks, continue I need to book my spa. Of course. What am I thinking?
I'd love a spa.
I think I need it for podcast content as well. I mean, there'll probably be some hilarity around a dressing gown and slippers and Eddie not realizing you needed to wear a bikini and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah. And that is it for another week. Thanks for listening and watching, everyone. Continue to run wise, run well, and don't overdo it. It's always better to be 5% under instead of 1% overcooked. Make sure you refuel with lots of tea, maybe some protein Rebel.
God, you are insatiable, Gary.
My name is Gary Thwaites.
And I'm Eddie Sutton.
And that was episode 10 of Tea and Trails.